Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Chris McDonald, Head of Solutions here at Bria. I'm excited to walk you through how developers can use the Bria platform to build flexible, brand-aligned, visual, generative workflows with quality, consistency, compliance, and control that real commercial use cases and enterprises require. In this session, we're going to walk through a real-world example of what it looks like to build an API pipeline that empowers organizations to generate and edit on-brand content without needing a designer in the loop for every asset. We'll start with the simple prompt-based text-to-image generation by API, move through reference-guided creation using existing brand visuals, and then show you how to build custom-tailored models that generate entirely new scenes, all while maintaining brand identity across characters, environments, and formats. Bria isn't just a model or an API. It's a comprehensive platform as a service, purpose-built to help developers innovate, accelerate time to market, and meet the needs of the enterprise. That means every tool you'll see today is backed by licensed training data, rigorous attribution systems, and safety mechanisms designed for enterprise deployment. Before we dive into generating images, let's talk about why brand consistency matters, especially when you're producing content at scale. As developers, we're often building tools that empower marketers or content teams to move faster, but brand identity can't be an afterthought in the development process. Visual consistency is what builds recognition, trust, and memorability over time. That means color palettes, character design, environments, logo types. Every element needs to feel like it's from the same visual universe. Let's make this concrete. Here's a look at Bria's own brand assets. A purple elephant character that acts as our mascot, a defined color palette, a clean, modern tech aesthetic. In this demo, we're going to use Bria's brand as our working example. We'll show you how you can codify a brand identity into a generative workflow so that anyone using your tools, whether it's marketing or sales operations, can create brand consistent content at speed and scale to power everything from hyper-personalization to other marketing activities. All right, let's start building. The foundation of any generative visual workflow is text to image. With a single prompt, we can create visual variations fast. We're using Bria's text to image API here, which takes in a prompt and returns multiple outputs. You can specify parameters like the model version and a seed for reproducibility, which is key when you need consistent outputs across campaigns or platforms. Here's our test prompt, a 3D render of a purple-skinned elephant on a white background. Let's run through the API. The results, visually coherent, imaginative elephants, but they're not quite our elephant. They miss the precise character features that make it recognizably Bria's, the proportions, facial expression, the brand-specific purple tone. And that's the takeaway here. Text prompts alone aren't enough for brand level control. They get us in the right ballpark, but when brand identity is precise and non-negotiable, we need more than just language. So we've seen what you can do with prompts alone, but for real brand alignment, we need more control. The next step we'll explore is image-guided generation, using existing brand assets to shape the outputs. This is perfect when you have reference visuals, like a mascot or product image, and you want to generate consistent variations around it. Bria supports this through our Reimagine API, which uses a combination of control nets to guide the generation process. These methods extract structure from a reference image and use it to shape the output. Canny detects edges and outlines. Depth adds volumetric and spatial awareness. The input is simple, a prompt plus a reference image. The result, outputs that follow the shape, pose, and proportions of the original, but still allow for creative styling and variation. Let's run our earlier prompt, a 3D render of a purple-skinned elephant on a white background, but this time using one of Bria's branded elephant images as the reference. You can see the difference immediately. The results maintain the elephant structure, proportions, pose, and general silhouette, while giving us stylistic flexibility with color, texture, and accessories. We can now explore prompt variations like a blue-skinned elephant, a rainbow-colored elephant. This approach is perfect for remixing known visuals, campaign updates, product variants, seasonal changes where the core identity must stay fixed. But there's still a limitation. We're anchored to the original pose and composition. If we want our character in entirely new poses, settings, or interactions, we'll need a dedicated fine-tuned model, and that's where we're heading next. So far, we've created variations of existing brand images by preserving structure. But what if we need something completely new? Maybe our marketing team wants our mascot in a new pose, doing something totally different, like holding a cocktail or interacting with another product. That kind of flexibility requires the model to understand the character at a deeper level. This is where Bria's tailor generation comes in. It lets you fine-tune a lightweight model on your specific brand assets, teaching it to replicate your visual identity from scratch, not just remix what you already have. The process is simple and automated. Upload a set of branded images, can be as small as 5 to 50 with our automatic fine tuning. Bria generates captions and prepares the training data. It fine-tunes the model using LoRa adapters, and you receive a new dedicated endpoint tied to your brand. We won't walk through the full training process here, but you can explore it in our GitHub fine-tuning notebook. It's streamlined and doesn't require any manual annotation. Captions and model packaging are handled for you. Once training completes, we can generate our brand mascot in new, unseen scenarios. For example, the Bria elephant holding a pink cocktail wearing a party hat. This image didn't exist in the training set, but the model has learned the core visual identity of the character, so the output still feels unmistakably on brand. From here, we can start building the world around our character, style, setting, environment, which we'll tackle next. Great. Our elephant character is now perfectly on brand, even in new contexts. But for complete brand alignment, we need more than just the character. Visual consistency isn't just about the subject. It's about the scene as a whole, the background, the lighting, the mood, and how it all fits the brand's aesthetic language. We can address this by training a second tailored model focused specifically on brand style rather than character design. Using images that share our brand's color palette and visual language, we can create a model that generates brand consistent environments. With this style-focused model, let's use an LLM to generate prompts for various festive settings as potential backgrounds for our character. Notice how each maintains our brand's distinctive color palette and aesthetic while providing different environmental options. And because we now have both a character model trained for subject consistency, a style model trained for environmental consistency, we're ready to combine them into cohesive, fully branded compositions. Now that we've generated both our branded character and our branded environment, it's time to bring them together into a final cohesive image. But this isn't just about pasting one on top of the other. For the results to look polished, something you actually publish, the elements need to integrate visually. Lighting and shadows need to match. Perspective has to feel natural. There shouldn't be any harsh edges or visual seams. That's where Bria's Generate Background API comes in. It's specifically designed to solve this problem, taking a foreground subject and intelligently placing it into a new background with spatial and stylistic alignment. Here's how it works. Here I'm using Bria's Generate Background API. I am starting with reference images. They are reference images for style. And the subject, the specific elephant posed with the pink cocktail that I want. Bria is then using those reference images to capture a background style and then place the specific elephant in an environment inspired by that style that I've given the Generate Background API. Here you can see another example and one more example. All of these very easily using Bria's IP adapter for reference images to be included as part of the Generate Background API. Even with the best generation pipeline, there are always final tweaks, small edits that make a big difference in fit, tone, or format. Bria includes a full suite of AI editing capabilities accessible via API to give you fine control over post-generation adjustments, all while preserving the integrity of the original brand asset. Here you see a few examples of our AI editing capabilities. Generative fill, where I'm selecting a specific area where I'd like to generate an object to be placed into the overall image. Here I have selected the party hat and I want to change it to a Santa hat. I've selected an area where I'd want a small Christmas tree, or maybe I would like to use the eraser and select an object and remove it from the image as you see on the bottom right. I'm also showing image expansion here. Say I want to take the image and use a different size or format. I want to use generative capabilities to be able to expand the background of that image naturally to fit that new format. So why Bria, not some other model or platform APIs? One of the most critical and often overlooked parts of developing production-ready visual Gen AI is trust. Bria is trained exclusively on licensed, rights-cleared content. That means you're not dealing with models built on scraped data or synthetic shortcuts. The outputs are safe by design with built-in content moderation at every stage, from pre, inference, and post. For developers, this has real advantages. You don't need to build complex IP filters from scratch. You'll spend less time flagging edge cases for compliance and review, and you can ship faster with the confidence that your outputs are commercially usable. All in all, you and your customers' data and IP will always remain your own. This built-in safety saves significant development time and eliminates a major source of risk in enterprise deployments. To exemplify this visual below is from Flux, where I can generate Dumbo by just typing in the prompt Dumbo. Clearly, the model has seen Dumbo before, and it is readily creating that without any sort of rights. To exemplify the trust and ability to use outputs for commercial use with Bria versus other tools, I want to show you this prompt, a 3D rendered of a purple-skinned elephant that resemble Disney's Dumbo. Because our model has never seen Disney content or IP-protected content that we have not licensed, it doesn't know what Dumbo is in the content or IP-sensitive fashion. You actually get a purple-skinned elephant that doesn't resemble Dumbo because it intentionally has not seen Dumbo. Whereas, if I do that prompt inside of Flux, I'm going to get something that looks remarkably like Dumbo. And while that may seem practical from a concept perspective or getting what you want, it's completely commercially unviable. Flux doesn't have any rights to use Dumbo as content, but it has scraped the internet, it has seen Dumbo, and is now reproducing that. With Bria, something like that simply cannot happen. We've now built a complete workflow for creating brand-consistent visual content at scale using Bria's visual generative platform. We've shown how to start with basic text-to-image generation as a foundation, enhance control using reference-guided generation, create perfectly on-brand character assets through fine-tuning, develop brand-consistent environments with style-focused models, combine elements into complete visually coherent compositions, refine and adapt content for multiple platforms and formats, and do all of this with built-in protection against IP infringement. This implementation enables safe, controllable, and scalable visual content production that maintains a consistent brand identity across all outputs. Bria offers additional capabilities beyond what we've covered today. You can access Bria functionality through not just APIs, but also through accessing the model weights and source code available, giving you complete implementation flexibility to run inference, fine-tune, and build with Bria models on your own infrastructure. Thank you very much for joining me today.